Okay, see?
Different?
It's a little different, but that's okay. Who else? Anyone else think they're funny?
I could be funny.
You could be funny? Why don't you be? Was this a trick question? I didn't know. What do you think could be funny?
I would like to pay attention to something that I can give a twist that is unexpected.
Yeah, I think I'm funny because I take opportunities to make people laugh if I can.
Very good. Everybody is funny. Everybody can be funny because humor is a learned talent. Yes, some people are born with the ability to be funny. Some people are quick-wit. Some people have the ability to tell a joke or a story. But every one of those aspects of humor is something that you can learn if you set your mind to it. Now, humorous speeches and humor within a speech probably takes most people out of their comfort zone. Would that be a fair assessment? Now, not everyone enjoys it. Not everyone likes telling a joke and nobody laughs. Anybody told a joke and nobody laughed? How did that make you feel?
Shallow.
Uncomfortable?
Comfortable.
Awkward?
Yep.
Nervous? And where do I go from there? How many people think you should retell the joke after you bomb? No? Gee, look at that. You're learning already. Now, I think I am an expert on women. No, not just because I've been married so many times, but I am an expert on women because I read the Bible. That's right, I read the Bible. How many women read Cosmopolitan magazine? Cosmopolitan magazine is the Bible if you want to learn about women and what women want. So I learned a long time ago, women like men with a sense of humor. Duh, that's why I'm here. I know it wasn't for hair, so I chose to accept the humor side of it. And I tried Rogaine, but all it did is cause hair to grow on the palm of my hands as I was rubbing it in. It didn't work anywhere else, so it was pretty bad. So I decided not to do it. Well, one of the things that I learned about women, and men pay attention, women want a man that is hard on the outside and soft and creamy on the inside. But that to me sounds more like a stale Twinkie. I don't know about you, but it doesn't sound like a relationship that I would want. But I have learned that women want a man that takes her needs above his own. Go figure. Who would have thought that? To learn about humor, you need to find out a few little basic facts. You can be funny. Humor is natural and learned. You can be funny, but you need to practice. I'll give you 3 steps of being funny. Practice, practice, practice. Practice here in the club. Practice among family members and people you work with. Practice at other clubs where people don't know you, where you get a totally different audience. Now, all people don't think the same thing is funny. Some people may laugh at a joke or a story. Some people love one-liners. Some people like insults. Think about the comedians that you watch on television, the shows you watch on television. What makes you laugh? And that's a good place to start. Something that makes you laugh, because you have to develop a style, whether it's giving a speech, or whether you're doing a story, or whether you're actually trying to do a whole funny routine. Go out and do an open mic night. You want to talk about uncomfortable, you want to talk about nervous and sweaty palm time, go to a stand-up comedy club and do an open mic night where you stand up and you're in a room full of, maybe you'll call them the audience, but those are guys and girls that are other stand-up comics, and they're there to try new material out, or they're new in the industry. That is a tough crowd. That is a tough crowd to try and entertain. Why is humor important? It builds rapport with the audience. If you get the audience laughing, and the number one fear of people today is what?
Public speaking.
Public speaking. That's the number one fear. The number two fear is what? Death. The number one fear is public speaking. The number two fear is death. So what I concluded from that is the next time you go to a funeral, it's going to be less scary to be in the casket than giving the eulogy. Help your audience relax. If everybody's laughing, they're having a good time. They're enjoying themselves. They're relaxed. They're more receptive to what you have to say. And if I want to get a point across to you, and I do it in a way that makes you laugh, it's more likely that you are going to remember. Now, when you go to a seminar or training, the average person does not retain everything that they hear. A very small percentage of what you hear, you're actually going to walk out of here remembering. And for the benefit of those that are taking notes, save yourself the trouble, because before you leave today, you give me your name and your email address. I'll send you this PowerPoint presentation that, by the way, has now brought me into the 20th century. My first PowerPoint.
21st century.
No, I'm only in the 20th century. We are in the 21st century, but this is it. Because when I joined Toastmasters, my idea of a PowerPoint presentation, that was it. That was how I PowerPointed. Now we have screens, we have equipment. I have no idea how to do anything. Technology is not my forte. I'm just another pretty face. But through the efforts of Toastmaster Daniel Dominguez and Toastmaster Israel Villar, I was able to not only have a PowerPoint presentation put together, but also to have the equipment as well as to have it videotaped. So you are watching history in the making. I am now in the 20th century. Keep your audience engaged. If you ask questions, if you talk to the individuals, if you make them laugh as they feel like you're telling them a joke one-on-one, you're going to engage the audience. You're going to get a response because their laughter tells you that you're doing a good job. Find the funny. Look for humor in everything and keep a humor file. Something doesn't have to be a joke to be funny. Something could happen at work. Something could happen in the family. The kid says something. Write it down on a piece of paper and make a file so that you have a resource to come back to. And one thing you will get bigger laughs with is by utilizing your own humor, because there is so much that's funny. Your lives are funny. Your families are funny. Your relationships are funny. Husbands, wives, kids, school, teachers, bosses. Everything is funny. Traveling, anybody traveled on an airplane or gone to an airport in the last 10, 15 years? That's hysterical just in itself. Going and trying to make a trip somewhere. It ain't fun anymore. It's a chore. All the airlines advertise about the great prices. $1.99 is all it's going to cost for a flight. But who'd have thought? You have to pay for your seat, you have to pay for the carry-on bag. If you want peanuts, you have to pay for it. If you want to take on a luggage, you got to pay for it. And now that adds another $400 in fees to that $1.99. And that you can make all kinds of jokes about. Going through security. That is horrible. A horrible experience going through security. All things that you can write, things that happened down on your trip, your vacation, all the things that went wrong on your vacation, and keep a file. Draw from your personal experiences. Practice and adjust, and be a safecracker. Listen and understand and know your audience. When you're going to give a presentation, serious humor, whatever it is, know that the audience that you're going to speak to every time is going to be different, because it's going to be made up of all different people. All different ethnicities, all different genders, all shapes, sizes, and colors. Everyone has a different view on what's important. Everyone has a different view on what is funny. You have to find out. So what do you need to do when you know you're going to be speaking? Do some research about your audience. the person that's organizing and conducting the meeting, ask that person. How big is the crowd going to be? How many people are going to be there? Are they going to be men, women? What kind of age group am I looking at? Think there's going to be a lot of single people, a lot of married people, a mix of both? All of those things you need to know your audience. But remember, humor is subjective. What you might think is funny, he may not think is funny, and vice versa. Who thinks the bigger the crowd, the better when you're doing humor? Who thinks the smaller the crowd, the better? Who has no opinion whatsoever? Which one did you think smaller?
I think bigger.
You're right, and here's why. If I have a room full of people, 20 people, and I say something that's funny, you may or may not think it's funny. I have a couple of hundred people in an audience. Someone is going to think what I had to say is funny. Laughter is contagious. And as a result, and it's not a disease, so don't worry about it, you won't catch anything, but laughter is contagious. And when you do hear someone laugh, you tend to want to laugh. Even if you're not laughing at what was said, you might be laughing the fact that somebody else is laughing. And that laughter is contagious, and it'll spread around the room like a wave at a football game in a stadium. So it's important to make sure that you find out what you think. Now, there are a lot of sources of material for humor. You read articles in the newspaper, magazine. You read books, trade journals. All these have events that are going on, things in which you can find funny and humorous. Your family, wife, husband, children, newborn, all things related to your family. Family reunions, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, every one of them do something that's funny within the family that you can capitalize on. Telling a story. If you're a good storyteller, use a personal experience, something that happened to you. That will help you channel that humor to the audience, especially when you want to make a point. Your boss and your coworkers, everybody has some funny stories about things that have happened at work. And even if they weren't funny, things that were disastrous at work, now that you think about them and it's not happening, it happened a long time ago, it could be looked upon as something that was humorous. So capitalize on that as a topic. Clubs and organizations, Toastmasters, all kinds of funny things happen here. Not just here in the club, but throughout the whole organization. Politics and world leaders, that's a speech among itself. There are people out there today that are so concerned they cannot understand why O.J. Simpson got paroled. But the plus side of that is there was at least 4 hours in the afternoon that people were more focused on O.J. Simpson than the blunders that our President Trump is doing. So look at it as a positive. Celebrities. Celebrities always make you laugh. They do crazy things. Something about when they see all those zeros on the checks that they get paid for doing what it is that they do to entertain or make movies, they go out and do some ridiculous things. And some of it is rather funny and humorous. People watch. How many people like to people watch? Where's the best place to people watch? Bar none. Key West. Best place in the world to people watch. Second is New Orleans. Those are the two best places to watch. You can look at people all day long and be amazed how two people could even get together, a man and a woman, as they're walking down the street. How could those two people even get together? I don't know. You see something different about each one of them and you people watch. And sometimes it's even better because you get to hear conversations as they're walking down the street or in a restaurant. So people watch. You can see people doing things, hearing things. That can be material for your next presentation. Comedy clubs, I love. I go to comedy clubs all the time. I go to open mic nights. I love watching comedians, and not just recognizable named comedians. There are many new comedians that are out there that talk about things in everyday life. They don't just tell jokes. They tell you stories. They tell you stories of their life, things that they observe, observational things. They pick on themselves, self-deprecating humor. All of these things are something that will make you laugh. Now, although it's very awkward to be sitting in a comedy club with a pad and a paper writing down notes, but hopefully you'll watch Comedy Central on cable TV, or you may watch a comedy showcase on TV, or you might watch late night talk show. There is a multitude of places that you can find humor on television. There you can sit and take notes. You can even set your DVR and record it and go watch it when you have time. I do that all the time. And refresh old material. How long should you keep the same material, using it over and over and over again if you were a stand-up comic? Once a year you should change it. Change your routine, change your stick, change the premise that you're using. Because if you are a stand-up comic, for example, and you travel around a circuit, you're eventually going to get back to where you started it. And the first time you did it, people have already heard it. They don't want to hear it again. And if they do, they're either not going to laugh like they did the first time. Because the thing about humor, the element of surprise, is just as important as what you said.